Hello, my name is Kacie Starr Long, and I am a former politician in the United States. I'm so happy to be able to share my story of corruption. I think it's important for everyone to realize that corruption is not just an issue here in Mozambique, but corruption is also something that takes place in the United States. In 2007, I made history becoming one of my city's youngest elected officials. I got elected at an age where many people did not enter into politics. And when I got elected to hold political office, I made a vow to myself that I would not be like other politicians. I told myself that I would never participate in corruption. That before running for political office, I have heard of other politicians taking bribes, being compensated for just duties that they should have done for free. So when I entered into public office, I told myself I would never be like them. But unfortunately, I fell into the temptation of corruption. It started off, I would say, subtly. It actually started off with purchasing a cup of coffee using a government account. So in America, when you run for office, people give you money to buy yard signs and to buy campaign posters. But that money is to be used just for your campaign. But as a politician, one day I found myself going to a coffee shop and I didn't have my own personal money. And so I said, you know what? I'll use my campaign account. A cup of coffee, it's just a few dollars. I will pay it back. That's what I told myself. But over time, it started off with a cup of coffee. Then I found myself at a store and I wanted to buy a pair of shoes. And I didn't want to spend my own money to buy the pair of shoes. So I rationalized to myself, well, if I buy this pair of shoes, I'm using these shoes to do my job. So I will just use the government account to pay for these shoes. And so things just snowballed from that way. I found myself buying food, clothes, buying, using the money for me to get my nails done, for my hair done. It just got way out of control. In America, we call that embezzling funds. And I knew that it was wrong, but I still did it anyway. It really became like a spirit of greed. I just wanted more and more and more. And I felt like I had this unlimited account to use it to buy more things. As time went on, I began to grow in my relationship with God. And over time, I began to feel really bad about using this campaign money. And I actually found myself doing laundry one day. And as I was doing laundry, God spoke to me and said, you need to admit that you have been stealing this money, that you've been participating in corruption. And I told God, I said, God, if I admit publicly that I've been embezzling this money, I'm gonna go to prison. And I will tell you, I didn't hear God say, you won't go to prison, but what I heard God say is that I will be with you. And some time passed and I made the decision to trust God. And so my testimony is this. I ended up not having to go to prison, but I lost my career. I lost my reputation. I embarrassed my family. I embarrassed myself. I was on the front page of the newspaper as someone that had been previously lauded for doing good in the community. I was now a front page story about someone that had done very badly. And so I brought shame on my family and my church family. But one of the things I will say is that God was with me. I did have to face consequences, even though I didn't have to go to prison. Like I mentioned, I lost my job and I ended up having to pay restitution. And I found it very difficult to find a job. Even though I had all this political experience, educational experience, no one wanted to hire a thief. And so I found myself really having to seek God for redemption and also for restoration. And during that time, I just grew closer to the Lord. And over time, and as years has passed, God has given me a ministry to help people who are in prison and people to help bring restoration to people who have made mistakes in their lives. One of the greatest things about now working with Equip Mozambique and serving as a board member, I'm so proud of the work that this organization is doing, especially through the Jurors Project, to help spread the news against corruption taking place in Mozambique. The true thing is that when corruption takes place in a country, it not only harms the citizens in the country, but it also harms the individuals that practice corruption. And I think one of the things people don't realize that when it comes to corruption, you don't realize the harm that you are doing to yourself. That each time you make the decision to participate in dishonesty, each time you make the decision to participate in evil, each time you make the decision to participate in temptation and in greed, what you're doing is slowly chipping away at your soul. And a lot of people don't talk about that, about the negative effects that corruption can have, not only in a country, but in a community, but also in that person's life. So I hope to share as a testimony and as a story of someone to remind people that corruption, it doesn't pay. It may seem as if you're getting a temporary benefit, but what you are doing is you're harming yourself, you're harming your community, and you're harming your country. So I'm so grateful for the Jurors Project for letting people know about the effects corruption has on a community and also on an individual, and also for the Jurors Project and Equip Mozambique empowering the community to learn more about the laws and to advocate for fairness and equity and for a better Mozambique for everyone. Thank you.